U.S. Marines rehearse an amphibious assault on the coast of Lithuania. They were among 4,000 troops from more than 20 NATO nations, taking part in an annual exercise on the Baltic Sea in June. But will there be the same cooperation around the summit table when NATO leaders meet on July 11th and 12th in Brussels?
You look at NATO. We're the piggy bank that they like to take from.
Ahead of the meeting, U.S. President Donald Trump criticized some NATO members for not spending enough on defense.
Germany is paying 1% of a much smaller GDP. We're paying close to 4%.
The NATO meeting comes amid transatlantic tension over trade and after Trump withdrew his support for the final communique at June's G7 summit in Canada. Washington has imposed tariffs on some imports from the European Union and Canada, and they have retaliated in kind. Could the rift among allies grow deeper in Brussels?
No one really knows. I mean, this is really uncharted territory for NATO.
Defense analyst Ian Lesser says NATO members are not ready for a worst-case scenario where Trump threatens to cancel military exercises or withdraw U.S. troops from Europe unless the EU drops retaliatory trade tariffs against the United States.
Well, this would be a very destructive linkage, obviously, and allies simply are not prepared for that debate at all. With big disputes over trade, over climate, over Iran, all of these things inevitably affect the atmosphere in the back of the summit, and there's real concern that it could blow up.
Just days after the NATO summit, Trump is planning to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki. Among the topics of discussion will be the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine, where Moscow has backed separatist fighters.
If there's a sense of disarray in the transatlantic relationship going into the Putin-Trump encounter, that undermines U.S. leverage and helps Putin.
Despite concerns over divisions, NATO says U.S. defense investment in Europe has risen 40% under Trump. And it says allies are all investing more in their own security, approaching the target of spending 2% of GDP on defense.
That when it comes to NATO, to security and defense, the transatlantic bond is not weakening, it's actually been strengthened.
NATO members are also expected to extend funding for the Resolute Support mission in Afghanistan to 2024 and commit more soldiers to train Afghan security forces. Meanwhile, NATO continues to grow. Macedonia is expected to be offered accession talks to become NATO's 30th member as the country works to settle its name dispute with Greece. Another Western Balkan nation is also aiming to join.
There's all sorts of discussions going on now about what we can do to help Bosnia and Herzegovina move closer to NATO, but in the end, it's in their hands.
The summit, however, could be overshadowed by divisions among its oldest members. NATO's summit slogan last year was, "We are allies, we are united." Ahead of this year's meeting, the issue of unity remains uncertain.